Islam Makhachev continues to show why he's a pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. He just beat Dustin Poirier at UFC 302. And this fight, it just continues this trend of Islam Makhachev improving and beating his opponents where they were supposed to beat him at. He just outboxed one of the best boxers in the UFC. He submitted one of the best submission artists in the UFC in Charles Oliveira. And he outstruck and knocked out one of the best strikers in the UFC in Alexander Volkanovski. And Islam Makhachev, a couple years ago when maybe he fought like Thiago Moises, he was just like a grappler. He was known as a grappler. But, what sets him apart with Khabib is just his striking. Like, he showed elite counter-striking versus Alexander Volkanovski. He also dropped Charles Oliveira with his spectacular counterpunching. And also, he's got devastating kicks. Like, he just knocked out Alex Volkanovski with a head kick, like, not too long ago. And now with Dustin Poirier, he leveled up because he's now able to throw combinations, push his opponents backwards. Before he might have been like overthrowing, like overextending, but now he's really like punching with his feet, moving forward like a boxer basically. And now the question about Islam Makhachev is who can beat this guy, because he's had some tough fights with Dustin Poirier and also with Alexander Volkanovski, but in my opinion he was still comfortably winning. It was like competitive fights because those guys are really tough, but I felt like he was still winning those fights pretty comfortably. And now I feel that his next three opponents are going to be Arman Tsarukyan, Leon Edwards, and Ilia Topuria. And out of those three, I want to talk about who I think has the lowest to highest chance of beating Islam Makhachev. Now, out of these three guys, the first two were kind of toss-ups, but the person who I think has the lowest chance of beating Islam out of these three fighters is going to be Ilia Topuria. Now, I say Ilia because although he just knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, he's a great fighter, great boxing, great jiu-jitsu. I feel like he is still open to kicks like we've seen against Volk. Volk was landing several kicks against him, but the problem was that Volkanovski just couldn't get Ilia to just really get him off of him and respect him. Like, he has great footwork, but Ilia was still able to get in range and light Volkanovski up. But with Islam Makhachev, I don't think that Ilia Topuria has faced a grappler on that level. I feel like if he goes out there, he maybe fights Alexander Volkanovski again, fights Max Holloway, and maybe fights Movsar Evloev. I think that would answer a lot of questions because, he is a champion, but we have to see him get through those contenders. Before he fought Volk, he fought Bryce Mitchell and Josh Emmett, which aren't really the best featherweights. And then he knocked out Volkanovski, and fair play to him. But I feel like there's still some aspects of Ilia Topuria's game that can be tested, like that heavy grappler who's going to keep on taking him down, that counter striker, those kicks. Can he find an answer to deal with those kicks without being in danger? And that's why I feel like Islam Makhachev would still be a favorite. And Ilia has a lower chance of beating Islam than Arman and Leon Edwards. Now, the fighter who I think has the second highest chance of beating Islam Makhachev is Arman Tsarukyan. Now, Arman, he's been getting a lot better since their first fight. He burst onto the UFC. It was like a short-notice fight against Islam, and he actually did really well. He took the fight to Islam. He welcomed the grappling exchanges. He tried to take Islam down several times. I believe he did get one takedown, but Islam was just too much for him at that time. He was very young and he still had quite a bit of fights at that time, but Islam was just, he just showed that he was the better fighter and he was able to make the right adjustments to get him that victory. But it was still a very competitive fight, and I don't think Islam was expecting that. But ever since their first fight, they have both improved. I feel like Islam has improved a lot more than Arman. He's gone in there against Volkanovski, against Dustin Poirier, and he's had to strike with these guys. Whereas, Arman, his striking has, gotten better. He does have fast hands. His kicks are really good because he doesn't really telegraph them too much. He's got good flexibility. He'll just throw those head kicks out there. He's also got unbelievable grappling skills. But I do feel like Islam is going to have the grappling advantage slightly. We did see Arman get almost submitted by Charles Oliveira twice in that fight with the Dark Stroke and a guillotine. And I don't think Arman Saryukin is gonna be able to take down Islam Makhachev. I feel like if anyone's gonna be getting the takedowns, it's gonna be Islam, but it's gonna take a lot of energy out of him. And I feel like Islam might, try to strike with this guy a bit more. Same with Arman. Arman has been saying that he's going to knock out Islam Makhachev in the first round. So he's definitely going to be confident. But I think that the difference in this matchup is going to be Islam Makhachev's experience in there with those high-level strikers, which is why I'm giving the striking edge to Islam Makhachev and why I ultimately see him beating Arman Saryukin again. But now, Islam Makhachev's toughest opponent and the fighter who can really beat him, I think is going to be Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is a great striker. We've seen him knock out Kamaru Usman with a beautifully set up head kick. He's very, very clean with his striking. He's got like a dangerous Muay Thai as well. Like if you rush in too closely to him, he'll drop you with like an elbow like he did with Gunnar Nelson. His boxing has improved. Like he was like boxing up Kobe in the orthodox sense in his last fight. He also has, some of the best kicks in the UFC right now. His kicks are very fast and powerful. And also his grappling defense is really, really good. Like we've seen him go up in there against Kamaru Usman, who is a great grappler in his own right. Kobe Compton, although he didn't really grapple too much, Leon showed great takedown defense. And also he was able to reverse him. And in his next fight, Leon Edwards is going to be going up against Bilal Muhammad, who I do think is going to grapple a lot against Leon. And he's going to be ready. Like all these fights have been preparations in a way against Islam. But I think that the biggest difference between those guys and Islam is Islam can really control you on the ground. And he's very dangerous on the ground. Kamaru Usman, he can take you down. But, we've seen guys like Jorge Masvidal get back up several times against him. And also, when he does get you to the ground, he's not really a submission threat. He does have some pretty good ground and pound, but he's only got one submission win on his record. Whereas, Islam is very dangerous. He can submit you. That's the difference. And that's what Leon Edwards is going to have to be worried about. He's also got good ground and pound, but just the way he's able to stick onto you like a serpent or a snake, it's just so much better than those other welterweights that Leon Edwards has gone up against. The question about this fight is, how is Islam Makhachev going to do against a fighter who is potentially bigger than him in Leon Edwards? And this is a bigger weight class as well. How is he going to be like? Is he still going to have the same sort of cardio? Is he still going to be able to just like muscle him around and use his strength advantage? And also, how is he going to deal with the kicking game of Leon Edwards? Because, he's faced some great strikers, but none of them have the kicks of Leon Edwards. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. How is he going to deal with the weight and the kicks and just the overall striking of Leon and the grappling defense? There are some uncertainty about this fight for Islam Makhachev, but also for Leon Edwards. But that's what makes a super fight. And if they both keep on winning, beat their contenders, hopefully in 2025, we get to see this great pound-for-pound matchup.